Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The rarest people in the world aren't the loudest. They're the ones who make you question everything you thought you wanted. Here's a surprising fact. Psychologists have long observed that lasting attraction isn't built on excitement alone. While excitement grabs attention, qualities like emotional safety, authenticity, and mutual respect are what tend to sustain deep relationships over time. Yet most people spend their lives chasing what shines the brightest instead of what lasts the longest. That may explain why the woman who truly captures the attention of a man who fiercely values his independence isn't usually the one everyone notices first. She isn't the loudest in the room. She isn't trying to be mysterious. She doesn't compete for attention. And strangely enough, that's exactly why she's impossible to ignore. While everyone else is busy trying to impress him, she's doing something completely different. She isn't chasing his approval, decoding every text, or changing herself to fit an ideal. She simply lives by a different set of rules, and without realizing it, she becomes the one person he can't easily forget. Now, before anyone rushes to the comments saying, "So, should I start ignoring people and answer messages 3 business days later?" Relax. That's not mystery. That's just giving someone's phone anxiety. The truth is far more fascinating. The kind of woman who earns the genuine admiration of a man who values freedom isn't playing hard to get. She's hard to manipulate, hard to impress for the wrong reasons, and even harder to replace. She possesses qualities that can't be copied with clever dating advice or rehearsed confidence because they're built through experience, self-respect, and quiet strength. So in this video, we're going beyond the usual clichés. No recycled advice, no tired relationship myths. Instead, we're uncovering the uncommon traits that make one woman stand apart from the crowd. Not because she demands attention, but because she never has to. By the end, you may realize that the woman who leaves the deepest impression is almost never the one the world expects. Number 1, the woman who never tries to figure him out. One of the fastest ways to push someone away is to treat them like a mystery that needs to be solved. Many people believe that if someone is quiet, private, or difficult to read, they must keep asking questions, analyzing every word, and searching for hidden meanings. But the woman who truly stands out does the exact opposite. She doesn't turn his personality into a project. She understands something most people never do. Trust grows naturally, but pressure destroys it. Instead of demanding explanations for every quiet moment or assuming silence means something is wrong, she lets him reveal himself at his own pace. That kind of patience is incredibly rare. Ironically, the less she tries to unlock every door, the more likely he is to open them himself. There is something deeply refreshing about being around a person who doesn't constantly ask, "What are you thinking?" or "Why are you so quiet?" She respects the fact that not every thought needs to be spoken the moment it appears. What captures his attention isn't curiosity alone, it's restraint. She isn't collecting information to feel in control. She isn't trying to read between every line or decode every pause in conversation. She allows people to be exactly who they are without turning every interaction into an investigation. That creates something most relationships never experience: freedom. He doesn't feel like he's being watched, tested, or quietly judged. He feels accepted without having to perform, explain, or defend himself. Number 2, the woman who doesn't need to win every emotional battle. One of the rarest qualities a woman can have is knowing that not every disagreement deserves to become a competition. While many people feel the need to prove they are right, have the last word, or force someone to see things their way, she chooses something far more powerful. She chooses peace over pride. That doesn't mean she's weak or afraid to speak up. It means she understands that winning an argument can sometimes cost the relationship itself. She knows that some conversations only become louder because two egos refuse to step aside. Instead of adding fuel to the fire, she knows when to pause, when to listen, and when to let emotions settle before speaking again. This level of emotional control is incredibly attractive because it creates safety. He never feels like every disagreement is about to turn into a courtroom where every mistake he's ever made is brought up as evidence. He knows she addresses problems without trying to destroy the person standing in front of her. She also understands that silence isn't always surrender. Sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes it's giving both people enough room to think clearly, instead of reacting in the heat of the moment. She doesn't confuse calmness with losing, because she knows that relationships are not scored like sporting events. What truly separates her from everyone else is that she values understanding more than victory. She isn't interested in collecting emotional trophies or proving she's smarter during difficult moments. She wants solutions, not spectators. Number 3, the woman who has already survived her hardest season. There is a quiet confidence that only comes from surviving life when nobody was coming to save you. It can't be bought, copied, or faked. The woman who has walked through heartbreak, disappointment, failure, or loss, and came out stronger, carries herself differently. She doesn't need to announce how tough she is, because her peace speaks louder than her past ever could. She isn't looking for someone to rescue her or fix what life has already healed. She has learned how to stand on her own feet, and that changes the way she loves. She doesn't cling out of fear or stay because she's afraid of being alone. She stays because she chooses to, and there is a huge difference. What makes her unforgettable isn't the pain she experienced. It's the fact that she refuses to make that pain her entire personality. She doesn't constantly bring up old wounds to gain sympathy or use her past as an excuse for treating people badly. She carries the lessons but leaves the bitterness behind. That kind of emotional maturity is incredibly rare. It tells him he's dealing with someone who understands that life isn't always fair, yet she refuses to become unfair because of it. She has learned how to bend without breaking, and that strength quietly shows in the way she speaks, forgives, and handles difficult moments. She knows that scars are meant to remind you that you survived, not to become chains that keep you trapped. Instead of letting yesterday define every conversation, she keeps building tomorrow with quiet determination. Number 4, the woman who is impossible to recruit. One of the clearest signs of real strength is the ability to think for yourself when everyone else is choosing sides. This woman can't be recruited into gossip, drama, or emotional campaigns against other people. She refuses to let someone else's anger become her own without knowing the full story. That alone makes her incredibly rare. When friends try to pull her into unnecessary conflict, she doesn't automatically agree just to fit in. When family members expect her to dislike someone simply because they do, she asks questions instead of following the crowd. She understands that loyalty should never require abandoning common sense. What makes her stand out is that she doesn't let emotions spread through her like a virus. She knows how quickly rumors grow, how easily opinions are borrowed, and how often people judge before they understand. Instead of reacting to the loudest voice, she quietly forms her own conclusions. That kind of independence earns deep respect because it shows integrity. He knows that if someone speaks badly about him when he's not around, she won't instantly believe every accusation or repeat every story. She listens carefully, thinks carefully, and speaks carefully. Those habits are built on character, not convenience. She also refuses to pressure him into joining battles that don't belong to him. She doesn't expect him to hate the people she dislikes or argue with everyone who disagrees with her. She understands that mature people don't need to create enemies to prove their loyalty. Number 5. The woman who never mistakes distance for rejection. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is believing that every moment of distance is a sign that love is fading. She doesn't make that mistake. She understands that sometimes people step back, not because they care less, but because they need time to think, recharge, or deal with life in their own way. She doesn't let her imagination create problems that don't actually exist. That doesn't mean she ignores unhealthy behavior or accepts being neglected. It simply means she knows the difference between someone needing space and someone pulling away for good. That difference saves a relationship from countless unnecessary arguments. Instead of demanding constant updates or turning every quiet moment into an interrogation, she remains secure. She doesn't flood him with messages asking, "Are you upset?" or "Did I do something wrong?" every time he becomes less talkative. Her confidence allows her to give breathing room without feeling forgotten. This kind of emotional stability is incredibly attractive because it removes pressure. He doesn't feel like he has to explain every hour of silence or defend every moment he spends alone. He knows she's mature enough to understand that healthy relationships leave room for two people to remain individuals. Ironically, that freedom often creates more closeness. When someone isn't afraid of a little distance, they become much easier to miss. Their presence feels like a choice, not an obligation. Number 6. The woman who makes him forget he's observing. Some people walk through life with their guard permanently up. They notice tiny changes in tone, question people's motives, and quietly study actions before they trust words. Whether they admit it or not, they're always observing. Then she comes along and something unexpected happens. He slowly forgets to keep watching. Not because she's trying to impress him or prove she's different, but because she's consistently real. She doesn't act one way in private and another in public. She doesn't carefully craft an image that falls apart after a few weeks. The person he meets on the first day is the same person he continues to know months later. That kind of consistency is incredibly disarming. There are no confusing mixed signals, no emotional games, and no hidden agenda waiting to reveal itself. She says what she means what she says, and lets her actions do most of the talking. Over time, he notices something unusual. He isn't analyzing every conversation anymore. He isn't searching for hidden meanings or wondering what she's really trying to achieve. For the first time in a long while, he simply enjoys being around someone without feeling the need to stay one step ahead. That's a rare gift. In a world where many people perform for approval or hide behind carefully designed personalities, authenticity feels almost unbelievable. It doesn't demand attention, yet it quietly earns trust. The woman who makes him lower his guard without even trying leaves a lasting impression because she offers something money can't buy and charm can't fake, the comfort of knowing exactly who she's going to be every single time. And that kind of peace is far more attractive than perfection. Number 7. The woman who isn't addicted to being impressive. There is something surprisingly attractive about a woman who isn't constantly trying to prove how extraordinary she is. She doesn't walk into every room looking for applause, trying to outshine everyone else, or waiting for people to notice her accomplishments. She has nothing to sell because she already knows her worth. That confidence shows in the smallest moments. She doesn't interrupt conversations just to sound intelligent. She doesn't mention every success she's ever had, or turn every discussion into a chance to impress. She lets people discover her naturally, one conversation at a time. Ironically, that makes her far more interesting. Most people reveal everything about themselves within the first hour because they're afraid of being overlooked. She isn't. She understands that real depth can't be rushed. The more someone gets to know her, the more they realize there's always another layer to uncover. What makes her unforgettable is that her identity doesn't depend on people's reactions. If she's praised, she's grateful. If she's ignored, she remains the same. Her confidence isn't built on compliments, attention, or approval. It's built on knowing who she is when nobody is watching. That kind of quiet self-assurance is rare in a world where so many people feel pressured to constantly prove their value. She doesn't chase admiration because she's not starving for it. The woman who doesn't need to be impressive often becomes the most impressive person in the room. Not because she's louder, smarter, or more talented than everyone else, but because she's completely comfortable letting her character speak before her words ever do. That kind of confidence never goes out of style. Number 8. The woman who doesn't need daily validation to feel secure. One of the rarest forms of confidence is the kind that doesn't need constant feeding. She isn't counting compliments, measuring love by the number of text messages, or wondering why he didn't send 3 heart emojis before breakfast. Her sense of worth doesn't rise and fall with someone else's attention. That doesn't mean she doesn't appreciate affection. She does, but she sees it as something to enjoy, not something she depends on to feel complete. She isn't constantly testing the relationship with questions designed to force reassurance. She trusts what has been built instead of demanding proof every single day. This changes everything. The relationship feels lighter because neither person is carrying the pressure of constantly convincing the other that they are loved. She understands that real care is often shown through consistency, respect, and showing up when it matters, not through endless words repeated out of obligation. She also has a life that continues outside the relationship. She has goals, interests, friendships, and moments that belong to her. Because of that, she doesn't expect one person to become her only source of happiness or emotional stability. That quiet security is deeply refreshing. It creates room for genuine affection instead of constant reassurance. Every kind word, every thoughtful gesture, and every moment together feels sincere because it isn't being demanded. Number 9. The woman who doesn't turn every feeling into an emergency. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is knowing that not every feeling deserves an immediate reaction. She understands that emotions are real, but they aren't always reliable. Instead of acting on every moment of frustration, disappointment, or insecurity, she gives herself time to think before she speaks. That simple habit changes everything. She doesn't send angry messages she will regret an hour later. She doesn't assume the worst because of one misunderstanding or one bad day. She knows that emotions can be loud, but the truth is often much quieter. This doesn't mean she hides her feelings or pretends everything is fine. It means she chooses the right time and the right way to express them. She talks to solve problems, not to create bigger ones. When something hurts her, she explains it without attacking. When she's upset, she doesn't make the entire relationship feel like it's falling apart. That kind of emotional steadiness is incredibly rare. It creates an atmosphere where difficult conversations don't become emotional explosions. Instead of walking on eggshells, he feels safe enough to be honest, because he knows every disagreement won't turn into a crisis. She also understands that a bad moment doesn't automatically mean a bad relationship. She doesn't confuse temporary emotions with permanent reality. That perspective allows her to see problems for what they are, instead of making them bigger than they need to be. Number 10. The woman who has nothing to prove. There is a kind of confidence that never raises its voice because it doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. She isn't chasing approval, trying to prove she's successful, attractive, intelligent, or worthy. She has already settled that question within herself. That inner certainty changes the way she moves through the world. She doesn't enter every conversation hoping to impress people. She doesn't compare herself to other women or feel threatened when someone else succeeds. She celebrates her own progress without turning life into a competition. Her value isn't determined by likes, compliments, or the opinions of strangers. What makes her unforgettable is the calmness that comes from knowing exactly who she is. She doesn't panic when someone misunderstands her, because she isn't trying to control everyone's opinion. She accepts that not everyone will appreciate her, and she's completely at peace with that. That kind of self-assurance is incredibly rare. It removes the need for unnecessary drama, endless explanations, and constant self-defense. She doesn't waste energy convincing people of her worth, because she knows that people who truly see her won't need convincing. For someone who values authenticity, this is refreshing. There are no performances, no carefully crafted image, and no exhausting need to be validated. Every conversation feels genuine because she's not secretly trying to earn admiration. Number 11. The woman who doesn't fear his absence more than she values her own life. One of the strongest signs of a healthy woman is that she never puts her entire life on hold because someone else walked into it. She doesn't abandon her dreams, ignore her friends, or forget who she was before the relationship began. She understands that love should add to your life, not replace it. She has her own ambitions, her own routines, and her own sense of purpose. When he's busy, she doesn't sit around waiting for the next phone call or counting the hours until he has free time. She continues living. She keeps growing. She keeps becoming the person she was always meant to be. That doesn't make her distant, it makes her balanced. She knows that two complete people build a stronger relationship than two people who expect each other to fill every empty space. She doesn't place the impossible responsibility of being her entire world on one person's shoulders. That's a burden no relationship can carry forever. What makes her unforgettable is that she chooses him without losing herself. She isn't with him because she's afraid of being alone. She's with him because she genuinely enjoys sharing her life with him. There is a world of difference between dependence and choice. Her independence doesn't create distance. It creates respect. He knows she's capable of standing on her own, which makes every moment they spend together feel intentional instead of expected. Number 12. The woman who never uses vulnerability as a weapon. There is a huge difference between knowing someone's weaknesses and respecting them. The woman who truly stands apart understands that when someone opens up about their fears, failures, regrets, or painful memories, they are handing over something incredibly valuable. She treats that trust with care instead of seeing it as something she can use later. She never stores private conversations like ammunition for the next argument. She doesn't throw old wounds back in his face just because she's angry. She knows that the quickest way to destroy trust is to make someone regret being honest. That kind of emotional integrity is incredibly rare. It creates a relationship where honesty feels safe instead of risky. He doesn't have to wonder if today's confession will become tomorrow's insult. He knows that what he shares in confidence stays protected, even during difficult moments. She also understands that vulnerability is not a weakness to be exploited. It takes courage for anyone to admit they were afraid, hurt, or uncertain. Rather than judging those moments, she respects them. She sees openness as a sign of strength, not something to laugh at or hold over someone's head. Because of that, trust grows deeper over time. Every honest conversation becomes another brick in the foundation instead of another crack in it. Conclusion. At the end of the day, the woman who truly stands out isn't the one chasing attention, playing games, or trying to fit someone else's idea of perfection. She is the one who has built a life she respects, protects her peace, values honesty, and remains true to herself even when nobody is watching. Those qualities can't be copied overnight because they aren't tricks. They're the result of character. The truth is, genuine attraction isn't built on pretending to be someone you're not. It grows when two people can be completely themselves without fear, pressure, or constant performance. While many people spend their lives searching for excitement, the deepest connections are often built on trust, emotional maturity, and the quiet confidence that both people make each other's lives better rather than more complicated. Whether you agree with every point or not, one thing is certain: the qualities that create lasting respect are rarely the ones making the most noise. They are usually quiet, consistent, and easy to overlook until you realize how uncommon they really are. If you enjoyed this video and found these insights valuable, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss future content. If one of these traits stood out to you the most, share it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation with you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep choosing character over appearances, peace over drama, and authenticity over approval.